Hi there, I'm Noah Bradley and this is Handmade House TV. On today's episode I wanted to share with you more details about the site clearing that I did on my property. So stay tuned. Well, alright, on last week's episode I shared with you how I had my house site cleared in order to help me visualize the future house that will go on to it, and as well as the location of the tiny log cabin that I'm going to put on the on what basically the opposite end of where I'm standing right now. And if you'll notice, there's a cut in the soil right here. Now the house itself will go up this way, and it is set back from the lake front. As I'm going to try to get it as close to the lake as I can, as close as what the county will allow me to. But nonetheless, in front of the house, I created this cut in the land in order to give me a nice yard area where I could enjoy the lake even closer. In this area I can put myself a nice fire pit, a picnic table, just all kinds of things in order to enjoy the outside, to lure me from the trappings of the comfort of a finished home and get outside and enjoy the outdoors and enjoy the lake. So that would be my setback line there for my future house. And this would also help me establish the orientation of my property. That line is also I guess the parallel line to my view. So that would be the best way for me to orient my house, is actually facing this particular direction. Now, one thing I had thought about doing, and I shared it with you in the last Handmade House TV episode, was the fact of taking that little log cabin that I created for the Log Cabin Academy and bringing it here and putting it up on the parcel of land. And clearly I needed to keep that in mind with association with the future home and while it is being designed. I really want to build that little cabin here. It'll provide me a great space to get into when the weather suddenly turns rainy while I'm building the house. It'll allow me to provide a little bit of security as far as locking up my tools during the construction process and keeping some things dry, like my box of nails. I wouldn't want it to get wet. And then once the house is completed, then I can use it for a variety of things, anything from a writer's cabin to a playhouse for my grandchildren, or even a retreat out in the yard to get away from the hectic noise of day-to-day life. And so I've spent some time here trying to figure out exactly where I might want to put that little log cabin, and it's sort of a challenge. For one thing, that I want to orient it in the exact same direction, either parallel or perpendicular with the house. And I guess that comes back from spending too much time in the historic restoration field, and that is that if you look at old farms or old vintages, it never fails that all of the outbuildings were parallel or perpendicular to the house. They weren't scattered all over pointing different directions. They were facing generally the same direction in some way or another, and typically the outbuildings were even in alignment with it. And it's interesting, if you get on Google and you do some aerial searches, satellite images looking down, you can definitely tell vintage farms and because of this versus new, where people just not paying attention to it anymore. So I want to establish that line, and I established it, and that's what I'll be working off of in order to locate my little outbuilding. And then a second consideration is that I don't want to build my little outbuilding clearly in front of the home and the view. I don't want it to be blocking out anything. So one of the things I found out is that in building a little outbuilding, the setbacks from the property lines are not as severe. Here in this county that I'm building the home for, a setback for a house from the sides is 20 feet and from the back is 30 feet. But when it comes to building a little outbuilding, the setback distance is only 10 feet. By building a little log cabin, I can build it right down here in the corner of my property, and that will allow me to actually get closer to the lake and enjoy it. And it'll be able to, by building down here in the far corner, it will allow me to not be in front of the home. So that's where I'm planning on building my little structure. Well, okay, that about wraps it up. Thank you for letting me share with you today about my house site and the progress that I'm making. So we'll see you next week.